Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Woodstock, Georgia. Welcome to Women in Business, where we celebrate influential women making a difference in our community. Now, here's your host.
Welcome to another exciting and informative edition of Women in Business Radio. This is a very special episode. The ladies of Alpha and Omega. I have so been looking forward to having this show. Of course, I have with me our traditional host for this segment of Women in Business, Miss Lori Kennedy. How are you?
Hi, I'm great. This is a twist of events, and I'm excited to see where it leads. We have no idea where we're going today.
Yeah. So for the three people in Cherokee County that don't know, Lori Kennedy is with Alpha and Omega. She and her husband, Danny or Billy, we'll talk about that later. Whichever husband you want to talk about is the other owner of Alpha and Omega. And we have two beautiful young ladies in here with us who keep the fire's burning over there and keep the shop running. In fact, the first one I'll mention is Sam Floyd. Sam and I saw each other just the other day because I took my old truck in there hoping to get it through one more hunting season, and it's right now in there getting an oil change and getting ready, hopefully an emissions sign-off, yes?
Mm-hmm. I did the emissions test, and it failed. Yeah. So we're doing a smoke test to get it ready for you.
So Sam will make it. But, of course, I trust these folks with our cars, with Holly's cars. Well, and I may have mentioned to you, we're getting another car.
No.
And we're giving the old one to my youngest, Kelly, and then we're getting another one. So, we'll keep you guys busy. And welcoming back to the Business RadioX microphone, Miss Allie Kennedy. How you been since we talked to you last?
I've been good. I had a whole baby since, but other than that, I'm good. So I'm okay. No, I'm just kidding.
And we have had the pleasure of enjoying the new edition at Woodstock Business Club. I don't know if has the baby shown up at YPOW as well, or just Woodstock Business Club? Just
the business club. When she was younger, like very little, she could come. And then the more I kept bringing her, the older she was getting, and the more I was like, you can't be here anymore. She's just trying to crawl around and meet everybody during the talks. So we had to stop.
All right, since everyone here is with Alpha and Omega, let's lead with us for a moment, if we could, Lori. Mission, purpose, tell us a little bit about the business and what you're really out there trying to do for folks, the community.
Well, we have three things that I have posted above everyone's heads, and that is honesty, integrity, and quality. And the reason I put it behind their heads is because I want them to be held accountable to that, and they've agreed to that when they've signed on to work with us. And we've actually had to let somebody go before because we found out they'd only been there about a week, and they had not put some items on a vehicle that they said they had put on a vehicle, and we found it, and we were like, okay, that was not quality, that was not integrity. And it was not honesty either, so you don't match up with who we want to be in this community. So, see ya. Bye.
So that one got through, but got caught in the net there. You can take that if you want. No, I'm kidding. But you must put some real attention and focus and energy into that whole recruiting development process. What is it? And I got to admit, just straight up, I'm not good at that. When I'm interviewing people, I don't feel like I ask the right questions, and I feel like I'm too quick to just buy off on whatever they're saying. Have you gotten better and better at that? And have you kind of figured out a process for recruiting, interviewing, developing? Or are you still cutting your teeth and learning?
TBD. No, I'm just kidding.
I think, obviously all processes can always be improved upon, and the more you do something, the better you'll get at it. The more often you fail at it, the things you'll realize that you shouldn't do in the future. I will say that one of my questions that I always ask people is, why are you leaving where you are, and what are you hoping to get in an offer? And I don't necessarily mean how much money per hour. Yeah. I mean, like, I don't want to bring somebody out of the fire and throw them into the frying pan. I want, if they're going to come work for us, then I want us to be accomplishing something that they're not currently getting where they are. If they say, well, systems and procedures are confusing sometimes where I'm at. And I'm like, all right, well, you're not going to get any better in our shop because that happens with us too. So, I don't want to set somebody up to fail. And so I do ask a few questions to make sure that the environment that we're going to put them in is something that will be relevant for what they're trying to accomplish, hopefully. Like, that's the goal. It doesn't always work. Unfortunately, staffing is one of the most difficult things that we have happening. Techs are very difficult to find. You probably realize this, but for years and years, white collar was pushed in homes in America, and there are very few blue collar workers in all aspects, like electricians and plumbers and mechanics and all of it. Very limited. So before long, and now we've got kids graduating from college who can't find jobs.
Right.
And
owe a lot of money in many cases.
Yeah. And we can't find techs. It's just a hard industry. So if you're listening to this and you are looking for change, we would be happy to speak with you.
And then when you do land a good one, like Sam, like Allie, are there some things that you make a habit of doing or not doing to keep them engaged, keep them on board, check in that conversation you had, because it could be a moving target, right? Like now they've been there for a while and now they are hoping to get this out of their work. Yeah.
I mean, my husband probably deals more with the techs and with, the men on the team and with the day to day. Allie does our marketing and some HR, like she's kind of an all purpose, but more on the administrative side as opposed to like, she put the cup under your microphone.
That was
so
perfect.
Yeah,
they already
properly.
Fixed my microphone when they got here.
Anyway, she's more like, thinking through those types of details. And the only other female that we have on staff is Sam. And Sam runs one of the front counters at our Woodstock shop. And so she probably deals more day to day with my husband, although she does call me and I love hearing from her. And my goal is, I know I can't learn everything at once. I do better if I learn in little pieces. So as things come up, I'll try to call her and I'll say, hey, let's talk through this today and let's think through, this process or whatever. What could we do different? How could we make it better? Or this is the first time you've seen this. So, I don't want to give everything at once because then, I'll forget things, but
Same.
So we just do a little at a time and hopefully things stick. But I mean, I think I have a mentoring heart.
Yes,
and
you do.
My goal is to be available. I don't know all things, but I've definitely lived a few years longer than these two ladies sitting across from me. So I might have made several mistakes that they haven't made yet. And if I can help them not make those, then praise, I would love that.
Well, I had and thoroughly enjoyed the Sam front counter experience just a couple of days ago. You're doing a fantastic job. I mean, you're so personable and you explain things in ways that those of us who, I have two tools at my house, a telephone and a checkbook. So I don't so it's very important that I find, people I can trust to provide these kinds of services. But you had the unique opportunity to interact with both me and Holly, my wife Holly, and you managed that so well. So how would you describe your role, your mission, your purpose, your work at Alpha and Omega?
So like Lori said, honesty, quality, integrity, these are things that we all strive to accomplish. For me and my day-to-day, I just want my customers to come in and know that they're going to be handled with those three utmost qualities and leave feeling the same way. And that's the part that gets missed a lot of times is they come in and they're like, hey, how you doing? Da, 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 da. And then when they leave, it's like, oh, get them, go, 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 go. So we try to make them feel like family and that they are aware that we'll do anything that they need us to do to, keep their business, get their business, and make sure that they're driving a vehicle that's going to last and going to keep on trucking.
So you strike me as an incredibly self-reliant kind of person you can depend on. You're going to figure out how to get the job done. if you get knocked down or something goes wrong during the day, you're going to work your way through it. I'm married to one of those, so I know that when I see it, and occasionally when you run into something where you need some extra input and insight, do you find yourself approaching Danny or Lori, and if so, what does that look like?
Okay. You're laughing because you know it. Okay. So
We're very different.
Very different. Okay. So Lori's the scary one.
Really?
You are. At first. Before we got to know, so before the cookout, before that was my, okay, me and Lori, we're cool. So Lori is the one that I was scared to approach. Look at her. She's just so, I'm here.
She's a force when she's.
I have to interject. 6 months. The first 6 months that I knew her, I am her daughter-in-law. And the first 6 months that I knew her, I was scared, like pee your pants, scared of Lori. So we're good now. I mean, that's my other mom, but like, it took us a minute. I don't know.
So starting there and saying this is I had to start there to say this. So Billy's more of the, whomever we're talking about today, Danny, Billy. He's more of the, let me show you how this is done. If you don't know, I'm going to he's very explanatory, very compassionate, very nice, very, very sweet for the most part.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
In the beginning, yes. No.
In the beginning.
Wow.
He is. He's very
He's going to be so mad when he listens to this.
But then now, so in the beginning, he was more of a friend, more of somebody I could be like, hey, what is this?
Yeah.
Now he's ask Lori. It's the hand, the eyes. It's like if it doesn't have anything to do with a vehicle or a part for a vehicle,
right?
So he'll sit there and he'll explain it. Okay, for example, I asked him and the boys yesterday at lunch, hey, what do you guys think about setting up like a little corner in each of the shops for like kids? Like, because not single moms, a lot of stay-at-home moms come in with their husband's car and their car, and they have their kids and they're like, just sitting there. So I'm like, okay, maybe we could do some sort of like a corner thing. I should have run this by you earlier.
No, I already knew about it. Everybody has been calling me and telling me. I tried to call you yesterday, and you weren't there, so I figured we'd talk about it sooner or later. I think it's a great idea. I'm glad that we just created a new policy here on live on the air.
So anyways, this was a conversation
we
at
got
lunch.
that done. That's good.
So Danny sits there and he's explaining to me, okay, I can tell you that this is a great idea, and I can tell you that I'm here all for it, and I can tell you this and I can tell you that, but I can also tell you that those chairs would have been regular black chairs if it was up to me. I don't care. It doesn't matter. But Lori, being Lori, these rooms are beautiful. They've got our colors. They've got this matching setup. And he's like, so things you need to ask Lori.
The finesse of
the beauty of the Alpha and Omega. He's like, so you're going to have to find two. They're going to have to match.
Yeah, because we need them for both shops.
Yeah. See, that's literally what he's telling me. So things that I'm officially on air made my life slightly more difficult, but like you said, I will figure it out and we will get it done.
Yes, you will. And there's apparently in the Alpha and Omega system, there's pre-cookout life and post-cookout life. But so tell us about the cookout. This is probably, again, your brainchild of getting the group together and getting to, is that yes?
Well, we had met a goal, and we had a couple new people, and I just wanted everybody to meet everybody, and so we had everybody over to our house, and we actually, was that the boil? You're talking about the boil? Yeah, we had a shrimp boil.
Oh my gosh, it was so good.
And plus, Billy Dan is an amazing cook. Like, he has a gift.
He does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we can make the same thing, and his is so much better than mine. Like, we can follow the same recipe, and his is so much better than mine.
He's from Louisiana. It's like a natural thing,
All right, for the benefit of our listeners, we probably should clear up the whole Danny Billy thing for a moment, just so we don't lose them.
Yeah, okay, so you've heard of George Foreman, yes?
Yes.
He named all his kids George?
George, yes, he did.
Well, Billy's dad's name was Billy Earl. And then there was Billy Daniel. And then they had twin girls, but they didn't know they were having twins because back then you didn't know. So they had one, and they named her Bobby Joe. And then a second one came out, and they're like, well, what do we name this one? We didn't pick a name for a second one. And I guess Petticoat Junction, which I know none of you young people
they don't even know what we're talking about, but I know.
Right. They don't know what a checkbook is either, just to date you, Stone. Although they're giving me a look. They do know what a checkbook is. I was really teasing you, not them. Anyway, so when the second little girl came out, they were like, well, what do we name her? And so they decided on Billy Joe, because I guess on Petticoat Junction there were 3, and it was Billy Joe, Bobby Joe, and Betty Joe. I don't know why they didn't think of Betty Joe, but they had a Billy Earl, a Billy Daniel, and a Billy Joe all in the house. Can you imagine how much fun that was when somebody called on the phone and asked to speak to Billy, expecting the dad, like a sales call, and then you put the little girl on the phone, the 3-year-old, hello. Anyway, so when he was at home, he was called Danny. When he would go to school or work, they would, he'd fill out his application, or at school, they had his name as Billy. So he ended up in any kind of work or business environment as Billy, and any kind of personal environment as Danny. And so it gets very confusing from time to time. There was a time when I was working, he had a tech, and I was in home building at the time, and the tech's mother and I worked together. And he had gotten me a necklace for my birthday, and I came in and I went, look what Danny got me for my birthday. And she went home and told her son I was cheating on my husband. No, true story.
Ay. All right, so I don't know how much we cleared anything up, but I have my arms around it. I know who we're talking about. I know he's from Louisiana, and I have no doubt that he puts out a terrific bowl and any manner of other Louisiana specialties. All right, so Allie, tell us about your role and how you would describe it.
My role is ever changing, ever adjusting with the needs of my wonderful Lori. It is by name marketing coordinator, but I do some HR, I do onboarding for us, I do payroll. So I'm kind of just like the woman of many hats, and I try to just pick up where I can. And, I enjoy it though. I'm really enjoying it just as it kind of grows into whatever it is. And, definitely it keeps me busy. But in the best way. Like it's special to be a part of my family's business, and that they asked me to do it and they want me to be here. It's awesome.
I think it's funny that my son, who is your husband, didn't want to give the businesses to either of us, so they brought you and Ellie so they can give the businesses to you.
He was like, somebody's got to learn it. I mean, no, but really, it's been awesome, and it's funny just going home and like talking with Grant and being like, oh yeah, like this, blah blah blah, just about anything. I don't even have an example, and he's just like, oh, I didn't know that was like that. Like, yeah, well, now you do, so it's been nice kind of being on the inside of things and just getting to kind of see the ins and outs. And it's very fascinating how a business is run. Like if you haven't experienced that and you're getting to see it for the first time, it's just all of those little things that you don't think about just already being laid out. And you said the thing about processes and stuff like that. It might be hard to incorporate in the shop. But I think that as far as like the way that we try to run things on the back end, like Lori has just done a remarkable job of making steps and making manuals and making just everything she can to make sure you have what you need. Like the other day, she just was like, oh, I made you a spreadsheet for that. And I was like, oh, thank you. Like that's how she is. And so it's not difficult to do my job. So I'm very blessed for that.
Sorry, Stone, I'm jumping in. I would love, you went to Woodstock Business Club this morning.
Oh, gosh, yes.
And for the first time you, they do a question, and I love the questions. I always take down a ton of notes because I feel like I always leave there better than when I arrived. And, you shared today, and you told me what you shared, and I really would love for you to share it again.
Oh, goodness. Okay. Well, I got to set it up. So the question was, what's one thing about your industry that you feel like there's a stigma about or people like are confused on? And I just basically said, not exactly this, obviously, but just that, you take your car in for an oil change and then, the mechanic comes out and he's like, hey, actually there's XYZ wrong with your car and it's going to be $1,000 today. And I said, I don't think that's actually not true because that does happen in so many shops. But I think it's important to make sure that you're choosing the right shop, obviously. And I gave the analogy of like the doctor. If you go to your doctor and your doctor knows you and he's been diagnosing you for years, he's got your chart, he's going to do a better job of telling you what's going on because he knows your history. So that's why it's important to build a relationship with a shop, that knows you and knows your car and can diagnose your car. And something I love about Alpha and Omega is that we'll basically say, hey, okay, yeah, like you're going to need new brakes, but not for 6 months. So why don't we go ahead and start saving for that? Let's schedule our appointment 6 months out. You can come in and get your brakes fixed then, instead of being like, oh, just because, we know you're going to need them, we're not going to sell you on them today. We'd rather have a long-term relationship with you. And I love that. And I value that. So.
Didn't somebody say that
Yes.
they came in, they said this morning in the meeting, hey, I came in and thought I needed this, but they said
we got a shout out because it was something with tires, and she was like, I thought I needed all 4 and we actually only needed 2. And so I saved some money. So thank you for being honest. And that honesty, quality, integrity, that's that, So I love that. I love that we're about that.
Well, I got to tell you, Holly and I are case study for what you're describing. I mentioned my old hunting truck, and the guys are so great about doing that, to the point that there are a lot of moving parts in business, and they all follow your processes. And you've got some neat automation that lets you know the car's ready, or the car's ready, and we feel like you ought to do this, this, and this, and we feel like these 3 things can wait, and you can check them off. And my response almost invariably is, I trust you guys implicitly, just whatever you think is best, because I've come to have that level of trust with you guys. So you have a great balance of, you have all those processes and all that stuff, but you add the human factor to it. And if Eric or Jeff or Sam or Danny, anybody says you gotta have this thing, yeah, okay, no worries.
Yeah, you told me that yesterday, actually.
Yeah,
that's the trust. You just know, like, okay, if you say I need it, I need it.
Right.
I'm not. There's no wool pulled over anybody's eyes. I love that.
Well, and I've had specific situations where they said, yeah, if you really are going to hang on to this thing for a while, you need to be thinking about this down the road, and we'll stay on top of it, kind of thing. And it's a marvelous feeling.
Especially like as a woman, when I started, my dad lives out of state. And so from 18 on, it was like, I'm supposed to get an oil change. What does that mean? And so all of that kind of stuff I married in. Well, yes, I know things like that now, but you go into a Goodyear, and it's just suddenly I'm calling my dad, aren't oil changes $50 because my bill's $420 and I don't know why, and so just to be able to trust the people is big, because I don't know. And you could potentially, maybe 6 years ago, you could have potentially pulled the wool over my eyes, and that's not fair, so no advantage taken there,
I would love Sam to talk a little bit about our software and what
that's
the
what I was just thinking about.
Yeah, what the capabilities are and how we can use it to serve our customers.
It is awesome. So it's simple. I can come in, have a vehicle come in. Okay, you need an oil change. We'll start there, like you were saying, and then your bill ends up being ridiculous. Mm-hmm. You come in, you need an oil change. We do an 18-point inspection on every vehicle, which means if there's something wrong, you'll have pictures of it, and it'll have a message sent to me, and I'll have the ability to, from there, send this information via text or email to my customers. A lot of my customers prefer text, so that's just how it works out. But I get the oil change done. I've got XYZ. I've got pictures of it, when it needs to be done, how long I have till it needs to be done. And then from there, I can just send the inspection or just the invoice to the customers. A lot of times I'll send an invoice. They'll pay it over their phone from the comfort of their own home, because they are doing XYZ. Their husband's not going to get home till after 6 and we're closed. So they can pay their invoice from home and just leave the car outside of the gate, and they can pick it up whenever it's convenient for them. So it makes the conversation with a customer so much easier when you can show them, very clearly. You can't pull them into the shop and be like, "Hey, look under here and between here, and that's what we're talking about." No, I can have the picture. I can send it to them. They can review it. If they have any questions, like you said, they can call me, and if I don't have a way to explain it, I will figure out a way to explain it to where you understand what I'm saying and what you need. So it's super, super easy. I feel like it's for the good of the customer. And of course, that's why they did it, because that's just how they are.
I have to interject. Sam, you're going to remember what you said better than me, but I was in the shop yesterday,
oh my goodness,
and she was de-escalating a customer.
Yes, I remember this.
She has this way that she's like serious, and it's like she's serious and providing great customer service, but she's also funny about it. And it's like that is just something you're either born with or you'll never have.
Yeah,
and what
natural.
did you say to the customer? Because
Okay,
it was so funny. Grant and I were both like, that's so clever.
He was wanting a specific, he had a recall on his vehicle, and he couldn't remember what his son had told him about the recall. So I said, okay, I'm going to do my research on my end. You do your research on your end. We'll meet somewhere underneath the old oak tree. And he just died.
It was like, she was like, she said, I'm going to search my soul. You search your soul.
No,
and we'll
that's
meet
what
under
I
the
said.
old oak tree. And it was like, her voice didn't change. She wasn't like, it was just, she said it, you know, I don't know. It was so
flowed.
funny. And then she was like, yeah, okay. Have a good day. Boom. You know? And I was like, wow.
He was still laughing when I got off the phone.
Exactly. Like that's because I love that, you know?
What a great environment that you guys have created. It's clear that you have a good time and you're committed to the customer. I want to hear a little bit about the balance of your life, the rest of your life, your household. I'll start with you, Sam.
Okay.
Tell what's home like?
So for me, my boyfriend is a technician. He's somewhere else, a vehicle technician, but he'll come home and we'll both have oil somewhere on our bodies.
Steamy.
Yes. So we'll come home and I've got a 12-year-old or a 13-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 14-year-old stepson.
Oh my.
Yes. So I'll come home, I'll cook dinner. He cleans up after my dinner because I make a mess when I cook. So
smart man.
He loves me. So I'll cook dinner and then we'll hang out, and we just killed Stranger Things, and that's just what we do. That's our home life. And the weekends we'll go to the pool with the kids, or here soon we'll be going out on a boat from what I'm hoping. Wink, wink, wink.
We're making plans.
We're making plans.
But I have to believe, and in fact, more than believe, because I've experienced it, that home is such a happier place when the breadwinners are fulfilled in their work as well.
Well, you know, I agree, but for a lot of us, we spend more time at work than we do at home, or at least that's how my life is. So for me, it's super important. The people that I work with are so important to me. I love my technicians. I love my bosses. I love Allie. We don't see each other often, but we text a lot now that we have found each other's phone numbers.
True.
So, you know, it's super important to get along with the people that you spend hours with a week. And, you know, it's a really good environment at home for me and at work, just because I don't come home stressed out. Yeah. I mean, sometimes I do, because I'm like, okay, where am I going to get this part from? I can't find it here. It's on back order here, but I'm going to find it. Come here, Google. So it's, you know, it's hard sometimes, but, you know, as long as you got that balance, it's good. That's, you know, something.
So we talked about your youngest for a moment there, Allie, but tell us more about life with Grant, life at the house, and how and if it kind of mingles and over to the work.
So, well, I have a 2-year-old and a 9-month-old, so I'm in the weeds right now. Not going to say it any other way. And it's just interesting trying to balance the work and the home life. I'm fortunate that I can work from home, and I do. But like Tuesdays, for example, I load up in the car around lunchtime with the girls. I go over to Lori's house. She has, her office has a little extra desk for me. So I go and I sit at the desk, and please, Lord God, let both my kids take naps in their respected rooms so I can get some work done. It's been definitely a challenge trying to find time. But what I appreciate is just that the way the workload works for me is I kind of have a set amount of stuff I have per week, like week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. And the stuff that's time sensitive it's not as much of that kind of stuff. So it's like, I know that by the end of this week, I have to have this done. So it's just balancing that and figuring out routine, which it's been fun. I'm like Lori. I like processes. I like figuring out ways to make things work. And it's hard having littles because you don't really get structure. So I just desperately am trying to make things fit in places and be like, 2:00 is this. And then I'm like, no, it isn't anymore. Awesome. And so it's like going against my whole being right now, but it works. Like it functions. Like I am stressed, but it's like it works, you know?
Pumpkin story yesterday.
Oh yeah, no, my poor 2-year-old. She goes to like a mother's morning out, and it starts back in August, so we're excited for that.
We're all looking forward to it.
And my 2-year-old is me. Okay, so it's just an interesting dynamic with that, being faced with myself every day. But no, I'm really neat, and I don't want to say OCD, but I kind of am. And she went, don't laugh at me. She went to school and they were painting white pumpkins orange. Like we brought in white pumpkins and they like called me and they were like, she won't paint the pumpkin. She doesn't want her hands to be dirty. And I was like,
and she probably likes white.
Yeah. And she likes white because that's my favorite color. But no, I literally bought her an easel like for Christmas that year. I was like, we're going to have to break that. And so now we finger paint and I just sit there like the whole time. But it's getting better. Anyway, off topic, but funny.
So does the parental strategies, when you have littles, as you characterize them, do you incorporate singing? Do you sing to them?
Oh, do I? Yes. Yeah. Ezra tells me not to sing all the time. Like all the time. We're in the car and we're listening to I'm a Little Teapot and I'm like harmonizing and she's like, no, mommy, sing. No, mommy, sing from the back seat at me. And I'm like, okay.
I just think it's funny you're harmonizing to Little Teapot.
Well, creative people. We have to get our outlet somewhere.
Right.
But no, the singing does incorporate into my day to day, and I try not to talk too much about like cars either, but singing works better for 2-year-olds and 9-month-olds than mechanic shop jargon.
So I brought it up for the benefit of our listeners because the last time Allie was in the studio, they sang Amazing Grace, and it was absolutely beautiful. So Lori, you guys are, I don't know, empty nesters of a fashion, but you got people around you all the time. What's life back at your mansion like?
Well, yes, we are kind of empty nesters, and that's fun. But our kids are still close and live relatively close. We have our oldest son, Drake, who has texted me while I've been here and said he's not scared of me at all. He must be listening. Hello, Drake.
That's the Drakest Drake thing that Drake could have said.
And he lives downtown. He's a real estate agent, musician, professional musician, and he's doing great. He's talking about moving back to Nashville. We'll see if he does or not. He has definite opportunities there, and that's amazing. And then Grant is married to Allie, and those are the only 2 children I have, and they live just in Town Lake, so pretty close. And they have the 2 littles, which are my precious babies. I had 2 boys, and now I get to have girls.
At the expense of Allie's mental health.
Right. Well, it's different.
Anything I can do for you.
Yeah, thanks. It is different when they're grands. You get to give them back. But it was so cute. I went over there yesterday, and Ezra, the oldest, got a doll that has red hair, and she's calling it her Lolly Dolly because she calls me Lolly. It's so cute.
All on her own. Like she was like, "Oh, Lolly Dolly," and we were like, "Oh."
Yeah. Is that why she looked at me crazy with the red hair
yesterday?
She's like,
what? She's like, are you related to Lolly?
Lolly's daughter.
I do want to bring up that Alex wasn't able to be here, and I would love Allie to talk a little bit about Alex's role and
let's dish on Alex since she's not here. Absolutely.
Oh, dude, how could you ever dish on Alex? There's not. Love that girl. That's Alex is my best friend and just happens to be the best social media content creator I've ever known or seen. And so we kind of are a little bit of a team in that aspect, and we work together to try and get, I try to take pictures for her when I'm in the shop because she used to live farther away. She's actually moving to Holly Springs as we speak, which is great. And it's been awesome getting to collaborate with her. We've actually worked together in like 3 different jobs. So it's cool. And she's incredible. She actually recently designed our billboard that we now have.
Sweet.
Yes.
Where's the billboard?
It's on Canton Road. This was like my little baby.
Nice.
On Canton Road, it's like 0.8 miles from the shop. Like, so you drive it, you pass it, it's 0.8 miles on your left, is where the shop is from it.
And in the
right
corner
above the Goodyear.
Right above, in between an Express Lube and a Goodyear.
Very nice.
I'm trying to start some crap.
I love it.
And in the corner of the billboard, does it say endorsed by Business Radio X, or did you leave that up?
No, you should have called me.
No,
I'm
it's
sorry.
fantastic.
There is a big old picture of Danny,
Yeah.
with his like arms crossed on it, and it
Yeah.
looks really cool. Yeah,
I'll bet.
she did such a phenomenal job. You got to drive by and see it. It's beautiful.
have to see this.
Yeah, we're gonna do some type of promotion potentially with like take a picture with the billboard and post it and get 100% off or something. You know, I don't know how that works. And get
Marketing
a free engine.
Marketing person speaking without
She knows
speaking
how
to the
it's
owner first.
She know you did the kids corner thing.
I know,
thought
I
I
did.
could maybe
Yeah, I started it.
offer free engines for people. Nah, just kidding. But
So you have marketing expertise on board. You have great presence at the counter. You have crack techs. You got Danny. You got all this going for you. But it does kind of bring up the question: where do the clients come from? How do you get new business? And I'll throw that to the whole group. Where do they come from?
I would say that social media has been big. Once Alex has started really getting to do it a ton. We've got a lot of reels she's been posting on Instagram of classic cars, and like the most recent one had like 18,000 views, which is awesome. And so I would accredit a lot of that to social media. I will say too, word of mouth is big. Lori, the Woodstock Business Club is a big one for us too. Yep. Lori has made that just such a priority to make sure that as she, juggles her other job that she has as well. Just in case you were wondering, she's kicking butt here and has another full-time job. Just putting that out there. She has made that really a big point, and that is just an incredible networking opportunity. And every time you go, it's like somebody's like, "Oh my gosh, like I need to get my oil changed. Can I have your card?" Like it's always something. So
I want to go.
Yeah. She'd be good.
Hey, have you not been at Woodstock Business Club?
I haven't.
Oh yeah, you got it.
I think I just got my ticket.
No, it's a great group, or at least that's been my experience.
Yeah.
So,
I've met a lot of women from in there actually that Lori sent my way. It's a lot of the magazines and stuff like that where people come, and then also people get done wrong by people, and then other people are like, "Hey, go see them. They won't do you like that." So. They come see us.
Not saying we don't ever make a mistake, but
No,
we do.
it happens.
We do stand behind our work. So if we do make a mistake, we want to fix it for sure. And my husband has been in business. Well, he's been working on cars since he was 8 years old. But we've had Alpha and Omega since 2001. So it's over 20 years in business, and a lot of our customers we've had car after car. Year after year, decade after decade. So he's done most of that all on his own. I really only got involved during COVID.
So I got to ask, because it is so true. And yes, you are a rock star. Everybody knows and loves you at Woodstock Business Club, but it spreads way beyond that. You are such an important part of the community at large, and particularly the business community. How do you choose to use that gravitas, that influence, that respect that you get? How do you choose to use that power? Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for.
That's the word. Good Lord.
To influence the community.
I have a mentoring heart. I think we talked about that a little while ago. I really love to be in relationship with people where we are iron sharpens iron, or we give and take with each other. Like, I can learn something from anybody if I have an open heart and a willingness to learn. And I want to have that kind of relationship with people. So I pursue those in and about. There was a time that I was doing full-time ministry, speaking at women's conferences and playing music and singing and that sort of thing. I have some trauma in my past that I have worked through, and in the midst of that felt the need to share stories of overcoming with others. And so I did go through a time of doing that. I feel like that particular time in my life is over and now this is my focus. Like I feel like God takes you to different places for different times in your life for different purposes. And so this next purpose is us preparing to be able to have more flexibility with our time because we are not spring chickens anymore. And I want to slow down a little bit. So this next few years are getting ready to slow down, if that makes sense. But personally, as far as me investing into others, I think it's a mutual thing, and I want to be around people who are investing in me and I'm investing in them.
So what do you think is was the genesis for this heart for mentoring? Did you have a mentor or multiple mentors along the way that you really wanted to emulate, or was it the opposite and like you felt like, wow, I really didn't get the guidance in this area or that area that I wish I had. I'm going to do better for others.
Yeah, I think I've told my kids 100 times, I've done as many things wrong as you can figure out how to do wrong raising kids. What I want you to do is I want you to look at what I've done, take the things that I've done right and emulate those, take the things that I've done wrong and purposefully don't repeat those. And when you ask that, yes, I had a challenging childhood and I am purposefully trying to make a difference or help others make their lives different going forward than what I experienced in my past.
Yeah. Well, it certainly has had an impact. It's you just never know the impact that you have on people. My uncle and I were having this conversation last weekend. We were up at the mountain house. Sometimes you do get to know, and that's fun. Mm-hmm. But a lot of times you don't really know the impact that you've had on people, and as a consistent discipline or ritual of trying to invest in other people, it's amazing the ongoing impact something like that can have. I know you guys maybe a little younger than I am, and you've accumulated some wisdom, some knowledge, some experience. You've probably made a mistake or two. Have you chosen to try to be a mentor to other people at this point? I'm going to ask you both, but I'll start with you, Sam.
Yeah. I would love to get more into the things that I would like to go back on, the things that I've done in my life and the things that I would like to help others with. But that's for another day and time.
We'll have you back. We'll have a Sam show.
It'd take a little longer than that.
I'd listen.
Yeah.
I'd be on it.
You'd learn a little.
Yeah.
Lori probably already knows. But yeah, for sure. Like you were saying, you never know who you impact. Like, for example, something I learned a very, very long time ago. I was probably 14, 15. Like, it's one of those kind of lessons. Don't ask someone how they're doing today unless you're prepared to get a bad answer, unless you're prepared to listen to what they have to say. And that, that was really important for me at one point in time. And, it's true. Like the other day I always talk to my delivery drivers and, ask them how they're doing and what's going on in their life and get to be personal with them because you see them all the time. One of my drivers, his mom is in the hospital and wasn't doing too well, and she's doing better now. We've been praying for her, and everybody out there, you can continue to pray for her. But it's just things, that when you ask someone how they are, be prepared to listen to what they're going to say. You don't want to just dry ask, and what if they're having a really bad day? If you care, really care.
That is marvelous counsel. Absolutely. How about you, Ellie? Have you had a chance to, if not a formal mentoring relationship, just to begin sharing some of your life experience? I
would say I feel like God put me in a really interesting situation in my life, having kids as young as I did. Because at the time, like when I was pregnant with Ezra, my first, it was like, oh my gosh, like none of my friends are even married yet. And like, I'm going to have these, like, my kids are going to be babysitting my friends' kids. That's so weird, and I think that just the magnitude of growth that happens when you become a parent, we all know it. It's just crazy. It's looking in a mirror every single day, and it's having to, like, especially now that I'm getting into like discipline with Ezra, and stuff like that. It's just constantly having to unpack things from your past that maybe, you're just having to unpack things from your past and learn how to do things differently and figure out what worked for you might not work for your kid and just all of that stuff. And it's a blessing to me as I've watched my friends start to get married, and Alex, my best friend's having a baby in like 3 weeks, probably.
Congratulations, Alex.
Yeah, and just being able to have, like Lori was saying, have maybe made some of those mistakes or just kind of walked through it and already troubleshot and figured out, like, you don't have to do what I'm doing, but I did this and it worked really well if you want to try it. Like, I love that. I love to have advice for people, and I love to offer advice, and I try not to give it unsolicited, but Alex is, when she hears this, she's going to laugh because I'm always like, well, I would probably do this if it, like, I like can't help but be like, what about, and I'm a fixer. So I definitely have enjoyed getting to kind of, grow in relationships like that with my friends, especially, and just, yeah, for sure.
So one of the more recent opportunities, really a set of opportunities for me to learn something about myself and to try to make some improvements in the business was facilitated. The skids were greased a little bit by mentors that I trust, but the presenting situation was COVID. It really had my business partner Lee Cantor and I kind of re-examine where we had drawn some lines, and we had to move some of those lines to continue to serve customers and generate revenue. And as it turns out, it opened up completely new avenues of serving people, helping folks, and making money. Did COVID have an impact on your business? And if so, how did you weather that?
Well, it absolutely did. But we were an essential business, so we stayed open. We just had to, all of a sudden, we had to buy all this extra stuff to clean things with that you couldn't even find anywhere. So, go to the dark web to find sanitizer.
She's got a subscription with the black market now.
And so we had, at first it completely fell off. Like 100% of the business was pretty much gone at first because nobody drove. Like nobody went anywhere and nobody drove. And so you still have bills. You still have to keep your utilities on. You still have to pay your rent. You still have to pay your employees, that sort of thing. So you still have bills. So, we had to navigate that. And then it started coming back, and it came back pretty slow. It took people time. Some people had to go back in a few weeks, and some people didn't have to go back for a few months. And I will say that, there were scenarios in which the government tried to put out some programs to help you keep your employees and that sort of thing. And, we did what we could to try to make sure that we were able to keep our employees and stay open. And now, of course, businesses, there are other challenges, with the supply chains and the prices increasing, and just making sure that, we are honoring our customers, with how we have to get things like Sam said, she has to go home and Google, at night, try to figure out how to get certain parts because we just can't get things. And employees are scarce at this point in time. I don't know how they're making money, but they're not coming to work. So some of them, not some of our specific employees, but in general, employees aren't going back to work.
No, I hear you.
And I don't know. I don't really know what's next, but this time in history is different than any other time. And every other time in history is also different than any other time. So you just continue to grow and navigate. Like, that's why we're human and not, like a dog. Like, we learn from the past and make changes going forward. And so you just have to stay open and not be that. You remember that story about why'd you cut the ends off the roast? Do you know what I'm saying when I say that?
I'm not sure idea. I do.
Okay. So there was
somebody write this down. Oh no, we're recording it. We got this. We'll transcribe it. Okay.
Somebody asked their parent, why did we cut the ends off the roast at Christmas every year? Well, I don't know. my mom did it, so let's ask her. So then you ask the mom, why did you cut the ends off the roast every year at Christmas? Well, I don't know. Grandma did it. So then you go ask Grandma, why'd you cut the ends off the roast every year at Christmas? Well, because my pan didn't fit the roast that we had. So we don't always just do the same thing over and over because we've always done it. We always have to be looking at why we do things and make sure that we're continuously improving our processes and the way that we are just, running our business.
What a great story. That is terrific imagery. You're going to hear that again. I'm going to use that somewhere. I'm in my next talk or something. That is a great illustration. All right. So I'm going to give you my answer to this question before I ask it. And I'm going to ask it of all of you. I'm going to start with Sam. But my answer is hunting, fishing, and more recently kayaking. But the question is, where do you go? And I don't necessarily mean a place. But where do you go for inspiration to sort of recharge the batteries, kind of unplug and get fired back up? Church, okay.
Church. It's been a new. I found my church.
Really? You like it?
I did.
That's our church. Just want to say that.
Oh, imagine that.
My new bosses invited me and my family to come check out this church, Momentum, right down the road. And I have found my church. I have found my preacher. I found my home. And I'm so excited about it. And it is. We had a ladies, what would you call a ladies?
Worship night.
Night of worship.
Night of worship. And that was the moment I was like, yep.
That was the catalyst. That was
it. I went and God told me to go. He's like, go check this out. So I did. It was a new thing. Never done it. Never had anything like that before happen to me. And I went and I sat there in the front row by myself. And I looked at Lori, looked at Allie up on the stage. And I'm just like, yep.
They were on the stage.
Yeah. Singing. And I'm picturing myself. Next time, I'm going to be up there singing this. This is my home and this is where I'm going to stay. And yes, church is very recharge, reboot. It, I would love to say the pool or the lake, but it's church that I get that feeling at.
Well, church can certainly be very inspiring, not if they invite me on stage to sing. I'm sorry you have to follow that answer, Allie. But
I know, right? I was sitting here going,
Lord, Allie's got this voice that, it was her fault that I chose the church.
That's just
singing.
like, dang it, that makes me want to cry right now because you don't know. I mean, it's the thing, you don't know the impact that you're having, and that was like Lori and I mean, we put the thing together, so just to know that was like a turning point for you is really big. So thank you.
God had you guys do it for me. It was a God thing.
Well, and that's funny because we talked about that because there was a little bit of
spiritual warfare.
Yes. Leading up to it, we did have some obstacles that we had to overcome, and I remember telling Allie, if this is this hard to get to that place, then there's a purpose in that place that we may or may not be able to see. It may not be revealed to us, but it'll be worth it.
Yeah. She said, we both agreed. We were like, even if one person, we said that. So that's just cool. Like, we were like, even if one person is impacted, then we've done a good job.
I went home and told Carl, I was like, yep, this is it. You're going to the barbecue on Sunday.
Oh.
And he went.
Oh my God.
Did he have fun?
He said, I met some people. We had some fun. If you asked me their names, I couldn't tell you. Now, backstory. My boyfriend, my Carl, is very much so an introvert.
No.
He likes to hang out with people, but he'd rather listen to you and hear you than intervene or put his 2 cents in. Me, I'm opposite completely.
That's why I said no, because I'm like, it's always the pair. You know what I mean?
That's it.
You got one. And
so for him to go, the preacher invited, I was like, go get him. He's not going to go. Go make him go.
Yeah. So they had a men's event. The men's barbecue. Yeah.
Yes.
There you go.
Axe throwing and barbecue.
Oh, fun stuff.
Yeah.
Lori, I probably already know pieces of this answer, but you where do you go to recharge? How do you kind of get rejuvenated?
Church.
The lake. She goes to the lake.
Well, I tell you
that boat I was talking about.
Yeah,
that was actually one of my answers too. That and spending time with Grant.
Well,
if he's hearing this, no.
I do love church, but I just after that answer, I feel like guilty saying anything else. But I dive into. Well, I don't dive. I usually jump. I can dive. Sometimes I do. Anyway. The moment my feet hit the water, I feel like all my stress just goes out of my toes and it's gone.
Mm-hmm. I been big gar in that lake, being sucking it out of your toes.
Well, all right, that works.
Wow.
It's Danny called me last night. He's like, hey, do you want to go have dinner on the lake tonight? I was like, oh, yes. It was so much fun to see the sunset. It was beautiful. It's just, it just gives me peace.
Well, I've been on that boat, and and I got to say, it's part of what inspired the kayak thing. So I've been on that boat, and when we were done, the other couple that was with us, Krista and her other half, we went to the restaurant, and we just had the most marvelous time. But being on the boat with Danny and Lori is also part of the. I mean, it was a great deal of fun.
Yeah, it was a fun day.
I wouldn't know.
So I guess
Shade.
I think you are the extrovert. If you want something, you let it.
We know you
be
could add.
known,
I mean,
right?
Wink, wink. Hint, hint.
It really is a miraculous feat to see Lori swimming through the water out there. She's like Seabiscuit. Like
Seabiscuit, the water version.
The water version.
Seabiscuit.
Lake Biscuit.
Oh, that's funny.
She's just so happy out there. You are.
I am happy out there.
She's just floating around.
You guys.
What about you?
I don't really like the water. What do you mean?
No,
Really?
what's your
thing?
happy place?
Oh, gush. Gush.
Gush.
Oh, gush. That was goodness and gosh. Excuse me. Church, yes, that's a very fair answer. Church is a big one. I would say, I actually discovered this last weekend, Grant and I went to a cabin with two of our best friends and did not have any children there.
Ooh, yeah,
and
that's
I was
nice.
like, I forgot that I was a person. Like,
Right?
oh my, I came home and I was like, what's happening? Like, so definitely just like getting quality time with Grant is a big one because that is few and far between with his job and the kids and my job. So that's been something that I want to prioritize more. And Netflix.
I love it.
What about
Grant,
singing, Allie?
Singing is good. It's hard. It's always like, I always wanted to be that like cool creative person that like just like pours out their heart into song and all that. But I'm way too structured. And it's like, if I'm singing, it's like, I love to do it, but it's not relaxing because I'm like, oh, okay, I got it. I'm gonna try that one again. I'm gonna do it better. And I'm like, it's constantly like it's not a job or a chore, but I'm trying to grow in it. And so what I want when I'm peaceful is I want nobody to call me to anything. I don't want to have to feel like I need to grow and rise to an occasion. I just want to just like lay and just be like, so yeah, that's a long answer. I apologize.
Well, no, but it's a perfectly good answer. And it begins to get into another one of those things that you might share with others at some point. I kind of learned it from Holly, but there really is, it's tremendously liberating and powerful to have the ability to say no. Right?
Yep, still haven't learned that boundary.
What?
No, are we supposed
to say
to?
no? You know,
Really?
What is that?
What?
Wait, what? I have a shirt that says
talking to
never
the
say no.
women.
What do you mean? No.
All right, before we ask Lori to wrap and make sure that all of our listeners know how they can have a conversation with anybody on the team and how to get to one of the two shops and we've got any promotions and all that kind of stuff, I'd love to come around and I will start with you, Allie, and then ask Sam and then we'll ask Lori to wrap up. I'd love to leave our listeners, and I know you guys have been so generous and such a wellspring of ideas around this. I would love just any advice on the life front, on the business front, on the relationship front, just something you feel like you've learned that, you know what, this is worth thinking about as an entrepreneur, as a spouse, as a friend.
Oh, man. Gosh, that's a big one. For me, I think I can say a lesson that I'm learning right now. And I don't even know how to phrase it the right way, but this has just come into mind. It's not that deep. Like it all, for me, I am a big, I attach meaning to everything. And I hold myself accountable more than probably anyone else in my life would at all times. Hold myself to a high standard, which is great. But if I'm showing grace to everybody in my life except myself, I'm going to be empty all the time. And so I'm trying to just like be able to discern between the things that are important enough for me to lose sleep over and the things that aren't. And that has just been a big one. So it's not that deep is my is my mantra right now, probably.
Well, let's file that under wisdom beyond her years.
Yeah, I need that in my life. I'm sitting
hard.
here and tentatively listening like, oh, that's good.
Thank you.
How about you, Miss Sam? You learned anything you might share with our crowd? I mean, the answer to that is yes.
Well, yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, recently. So, like you said, I'm a rely on myself kind of person.
Yeah.
I always have been, just because I know I'll do it. And lately I've been learning that I have Carl to help, you know, and I'm not a single mom anymore. And it's scary to let go and let someone else help, but he's there, and I can rely on someone other than myself. I can.
I don't know if Holly had to go through with that and through that and figure out that, you know, Stone can do a few things around the house. But I know that I have lived through that as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, putting this network together, because I always felt like, you know, I'm the one that knows it best, and to learn to let go a little bit and let other people, and even let them do it maybe not quite as well in the beginning. But boy, does it free you up to work on a whole new set of challenges. Yeah, good,
Like myself.
good stuff.
That's next.
That's why she dyed her hair before this. That's why she's working on herself.
I dyed my hair.
It's so cute.
It's adorable.
It's adorable. We got to make sure that we publish a picture of,
Yes.
of that with this episode. Yeah. So before we wrap with the business details and all that, anything that we might leave our listeners with on your heart?
Gosh, I think that one of the things that I'm continuing to learn about myself is that I am a processes person, and I like structure and I like organization. I like things to go a certain way. The problem that I have, because I'm an improver, like I like to improve processes. I like to look at them and pick them apart and then put them back together a different way. And that's an amazing quality, and I love that about myself. But what I don't love is the way that it can make other people feel sometimes. Like when I repack the dishwasher, then my husband's like, what, I didn't do it right the first time? Like, I don't want to be the kind of person who never lets anybody feel like they're enough or they measure up, because I've always felt like I'm not enough and I don't measure up. And that's hard. And so I don't want to provide that platform to have other people feel that way. And so I think my challenge to myself is love who I am, but also continue to improve on the parts of that need to be improved on, because I do like to make things better, but I don't want to make things better at someone else's expense that they thought they didn't do it right, if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. So one of the things I love about this platform and the way we choose to do things here in our network is typically these conversations are anything but a commercial. And you guys have a commercial enterprise. We need to let them know where you are, how to get to you, if you've got any promotions kind of things. So let's leave them with that before we wrap. Whatever you think is appropriate, website, you know, that kind of stuff.
Awesome. Okay. Well, we have 2 locations. We've been in business for over 20 years. One of our locations is on Canton Road in Marietta. The other one is off of Bell's Ferry over by Victoria, over by the lake in Woodstock. And our website is alpha-omega-auto.com. Not because I like dashes, but because without dashes was already taken. So alpha-omega-auto.com can get you both of our addresses, our phone numbers. We do have specials that rotate every month, but we also have 15% off parts for a first-time customer. That's a constant ongoing special. So if we haven't ever seen you before, come see us. And don't forget to ask for specials, because they're there, but if you don't ask for them, I'm not going to go, hey, you want something free? You got to ask for those things. So, you know, ask. That's all.
Well, this has been a great deal of fun. It has been, as promised early on, informative and inspiring. I can't thank you enough, Lori, for being willing to get on the other side of the mic and let us have a little peek inside the
beautiful
life
brain
at
of Lori.
and the whole environment at Alpha and Omega. It makes me want to go. I wish I had skills, you know, because I would love to work there.
We'll teach you.
Yeah, I was going to say, come on.
We'll teach you.
I'm thinking about getting a different type of job in there. I'm gonna become a tech.
I've learned about cars, and I've always thought it was the coolest thing because it's just like a giant puzzle. And I'm like, yeah, I'll cut my nails off to work on cars for sure. And then it got hot outside, and I changed my mind completely. I'm okay being in the front and the air conditioner. If you need help, I'll be there. But
And Allie, you'd have to tie your hair up because if it got caught like in some sort
oh
of
my gosh, the fans.
Yeah, my 9-month-old Iris is already like a fan with that. She just pulls it out constantly. Anyway, I digress.
Well, and I don't know if your hair is loud enough to be,
I know. I'd have to definitely go. I'd have to go pretty vibrant if I wanted to fit in with the cool kids.
Well, thank you all for joining us. This has been fantastic. All right, this is Stone Payton for our guest today, Sam Floyd, Allie Kennedy, and Lori Kennedy, and everyone here at the Business RadioX family saying we'll see you next time on Women in Business.